Okay, so we'll officially kick off with our 6th AATF Technology Thursday webinar. Welcome to everybody. Today's presentation will be hosted by EPLAN. Did you know that today we've got a webinar with a difference? We are giving away 3 prizes to 3 lucky attendees. The 3 lucky attendees will qualify for a discount on any ePlan software and 2 hours complimentary setup consultation with the software purchase. So make sure you complete the survey to be included in the lucky draw. Our webinar this morning is Cloud Services to Future-Proof Your Engineering. Recent research reports state that both collaboration and communication are 2 of the biggest issues engineers face while working remotely. ePlan's UK specialist this morning will help you to discover the range of free cloud-based products currently available to you and how to overcome these challenges. So today we've got 2 presenters from ePlan, Chris Louch and Graham Bloom. Chris Louch is currently the Business Sales Manager for ePlan's Cloud Business Division, delivering an innovative and distributive digital platform for engineers worldwide. He has over 15 years of experience in management, sales, business development, engineering, manufacturing, CAE, ECAD, MCAD, and PDM. Graham is a senior consultant at ePlan. He has a proven history of strong and successful relationships with clients achieving sales, training, and consultancy contracts based on personal background and experience in electrical, mechanical, and production engineering. So please make sure that you make use of the question and answer facility that is at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation. There is a dedicated time after the presentation for these questions to be answered by the ePlan team. So without any further delay, I will now hand over to Chris and Graham to take you through the presentation. Over to you guys.
Thank you, Chardonnay.
Thank you, Chardonnay.
So we'll get started here. I'll just wait for Graham to share his screen. So welcome, good morning. So I guess what we wanted to do today was really talk about remote working and how we can overcome some of those communication issues or collaboration issues that we have in this situation where we're finding ourselves working from home more. So as I said, or as Chardonnay said, I'm joined by my colleague from the UK technical team, Graham Bloom, who will give you a much more in-depth overview of some of our apps, our cloud-based apps, but I'd like to just first introduce you to ePlan's cloud strategy and what we've been working on. Just before we get started, a quick legal note. I guess everything we're showing today is true at the time of presentation, but of course this is cloud software and things change fast, so some functions and features may change as we move forwards, and yeah, as I said, everything we're showing is correct as of today, but yeah, we work in an agile way and things change quickly, so we just need to make that point. So if we get started, when we think about cloud solutions, I guess this is something that all software companies are moving towards, and certainly all engineering and manufacturing companies are starting to think about for the future. So when we started with developing cloud solutions at ePlan, what we decided to do was set up a new division called ePULSE, which is our platform for hosting these cloud services. And we wanted to really come up with a few key focus points for us of how we develop that division and how we develop our products. So firstly, and most importantly, we put a huge focus into our customers, or not just our customers, the market in general. And we set up an exploration team. It's the most international team at ePULSE, I guess, and they're working across 3 continents. And their job really is to go out to the market, to our customers, to potential customers, and really understand what the requirements are for cloud software in 1, 3 or 5 years time. And they deliver back these results, and everything we do here at ePlan in our cloud division is really driven by what the market is asking for. So every development that takes place here is driven by our customers and our customers' processes. The second point here is that we wanted to put a huge focus on data. So obviously data is the most important thing when it comes to CAE. And when we think about having not only project data, but also our parts data or our component data, and maybe even automation or configurators in the cloud, this means that we can drive all of our software and apps from the same data set. And also it means that anyone involved in a project, regardless of which app they're using, is all accessing this single source of the truth wherever they are in the world. So there's never any risk of wrong versions or things like this being used. The data set is there for everybody, and it's always the same and always up to date. And the third point here, which is a really important one, is we want to focus on the future, but we use this line that we want to be ready when our customers are. And what this means is that we're not forcing anybody to switch to a cloud-based solution. We continue to focus on our on-premise software. We continue to develop our on-premise software and make it better, but we add these additional complementary or value-added solutions in the cloud, which work together with our on-premise solutions. And what this does is it means that you can mix what you're using, so continue with your on-premise design software, but maybe introduce some value-added apps which can really help in this process. So on our next slide, it's just a quick point on what we decided to build, or what we decided to offer, and how we developed our solution or our platform. And there was a lot of work and research that went into this, but I think it was obvious to us we've got a very close relationship with Microsoft. We have done for many years, and it was the obvious decision for us to work with Microsoft Azure. They're one of the top 3 or the big 3 cloud hosting providers globally. We have Microsoft Azure, Amazon AWS, and Google. And Microsoft was the natural choice for us because of the relationship and the links we've had in the past. So this means it's a public cloud environment. So what does that mean? It means that the data we host is hosted on Microsoft servers locally in the region where you're based. And there's some really big benefits to that swayed this decision as well. And I've listed a few here, but the first is, of course, it means the software is always available. Microsoft Azure is huge. They have data centers all around the world, and this means that it's completely location independent. So your data is accessible anywhere at any time, and it's also non-device dependent, which means it can be accessed from any device as long as you have an internet connection and a web browser. So it's a huge benefit here. When we think about security, I mean, Microsoft really has this huge dedicated team of security experts that are working round the clock to ensure that data's safe. This is their core business, and this is all they do is they host data and they ensure it's safe. So there's regular penetration testing across all of the data centers. There's all sorts of tools they're using to ensure the safety and security of data. But most importantly, the intellectual property remains with our customer. We do not claim any intellectual property for data that's hosted in our cloud. It always remains with the customer, and it always remains secure and under the ownership of the customer. And what that means is the customer has control of who can access their data. It's not us that controls that. We give all of that user access management to the customer. And as you can see, my next point here is this control aspect. What we actually gain with a public cloud solution is even more control over our data. So what I mean here is with this cloud solution, we could upload a project, for instance, and maybe share it with some suppliers to provide us with a proposal of what we want to do. But the beauty of this is we can upload the project and share it, and then after a period of time, maybe 24 hours, we can remove the access from that project. So that means we're secure in the knowledge that we know our suppliers aren't able to download the project, that they're only able to view it, they're not able to print the project, they're only able to view it, and then we can remove the access once we have the proposal. And this is really different from using traditional methods like PDFs, because as soon as we send out a PDF, it's completely uncontrolled. It can be forwarded to anybody, it can be printed, there could be older versions floating around out there, and we really lose some of that aspect of control. So a really key point there. And the last thing here is, of course, with software as a service, we really save some time in terms of management and maintenance of data centers or VPN access or data access across our company sites or with our customers. And this removes a lot of time from this IT process of having to maintain or procure hardware or have some high-end servers or huge data storage. So we really remove that pain from the process. Now, what we want to focus on today is an app called eView Free. There are other apps on the platform. Graham will give a brief overview of them, but we focus on eView because this is really our cloud collaboration tool. So what eView does is basically it allows you to upload and share projects with any project participant wherever they are in the world. They can access it via a web browser on any device as long as they have an internet connection, and this is really easy to do. The ePlan engineer can just click a couple of buttons in the software. Graham will show you that shortly, and the project is uploaded to the cloud, and at that point the ePlan user can also choose who he or she wants to share that project with. So really easy process. And then what happens next is that anyone who's been invited will receive a notification via email, which will tell them they've been given access to a project in the eView application. So anyone that's been invited or all project members that have been invited are able to view exactly the same project. As I come back to this one version of the truth, everyone's accessing the latest version, everyone can see the markups, and everybody's only accessing a single source of data. The next point here is that these users that have been invited can now start to mark up the project. So all of the users that have been invited are able to start making some change requests using our redline tool. Graham will show you that shortly. It's really quick and easy to use, and it can be fed back to the engineer. Or they can start using our greenlining tool, which allows them to make notes on the project, or maybe some annotations of some wires that have been connected or something like that. So two different options: redlining for change request, greenlining for notes for the viewers. And lastly, the final point in this workflow is that the ePlan engineer can import the changes back into the project. So again, really easy, reopen the project from the cloud. All of these change requests come in and overlay on top of your project, and the ePlan engineer can then make the changes to the project and get it back uploaded to the cloud as a new version for all project participants to view. So a really short overview there, but I'll pass over to Graham now, and he'll go into some more detail on the app itself. Thanks, Graham.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everyone. So what exactly is ePlan eView? That's the product we're going to look at more closely this morning. ePlan ePULSE is a whole range of solutions for cloud solutions, as Chris mentioned, one of which is ePlan eView, which is the viewing product. And that encompasses virtually all of our portfolio of solutions, pre-planning, fluid, electric, ProPanel, and so on. It can also be used by members of your mechanical engineering team or your software engineering team, and some of that information could, of course, be controlled by ERP, MRP. So it enables anybody who has any of these solutions, or even if they don't, they can still view and mark up an ePlan project. So in essence, it's continuous redlining workflow in the ePULSE cloud. So the workflow today, as you're well aware, is that things have changed and virtually everybody is working from home or working in separate offices. And if you like, ourselves, that the warehouse, our retail warehouse is open, but nobody else is allowed in the factory or in the warehouse. How on earth do we communicate easily between all these different personnel and all these different departments? So we have engineers, electrical engineers, purchasing, management, and so on, and also the guys who actually build the enclosures and projects on the shop floor. Obviously, everybody is socially distancing, but how can we communicate easily? And that's through the ePlan eView. So this is viewing the ePlan project by anybody and everybody. How does it fit within your workflow? Well, basically anybody in any department can view and mark up this project given permission. So it's anybody in planning, detail engineering or detailed planning, software engineering, manufacturing and maintenance. So even maintenance have access to the project. So while they're building it or while they're on site making repairs, they, with an internet connection, can view the project, can look at information regarding the project, such as part numbers, and if there's a problem or if there's a serious problem, they can redline and send that back to the design engineers. So what are the main benefits? So first of all, the provision and storage of your ePlan projects on the new ePULSE platform. So it's one common platform, very easy to use, very easy to upload projects, very easy to view, and it's on one platform, i.e. through an Internet Explorer such as Google Chrome. Optimal interaction between engineering and downstream processes. Anybody in any department who has an internet connection can access this project for redlining. The project itself, once it's uploaded, nobody has immediate access to that project until the person who uploaded the project gives permission. So that person then sends an email out, an invitation to any user that he sees fit to access that project. They then have to register if they're not already, then they have access to that project. But it's not until the person who uploaded the project allows them access. It's not instant access once the project's been uploaded. So we display the project through the eView web browser. So you just need a web browser, Internet Explorer, Edge, Chrome, and so on. Change information is then exchanged between any department, be it engineering, production, and maintenance, via the redlining workflow. And any number of people can also redline it as well. So if you have 2 or 3 people who have access to that project, they can all redline. So with eView, time-consuming searches in paper form are no longer necessary, so no longer having to have reams and reams of paper for any given project, particularly if they're 200 or 300 or 400 pages. So that protects the environment, but it also saves valuable time as well. So the registration on the ePULSE platform, what if you want to have a look at it? It's free. You basically start off by going to the epulse.com website. So literally it's just epulse.com, very easy to remember. You then enter your email address. Even on the website, you have access to a lot of information about ePULSE, so you don't have to register immediately to find out information about the eView and ePULSE portfolio. Well, if you want to have a look at it, enter your email address, accept the terms of use, and click the register button. Simple as that. You'll then receive an email with a link that you must confirm in order to gain access to the eView platform, and fill in some personal data and set up your password. Once you're in your brand new system, you then start creating organizations. And basically organizations are just a series of folders to help you organize your projects so that you don't have to put all your projects into one area. You can divide them up into specific areas that may be customer specific or departmental specific. So let's have a look at the platform. So first of all, we just simply type ePULSE.com in the search. It's literally all it is. And straight away you have access to solutions, the different solutions that are available. eView, ePULSE, which is a project configurator. There's now a cloud version of the data portal, very important for customers. And it behaves exactly the same as accessing the data portal via a web browser. You browse for your parts, choose the parts you want, put them into the shopping cart, and then when next time you go into ePlan proper, you can then download from your own shopping basket. Access to the Trust Center, so if you have more questions about security and compliance, a lot of information in there about your projects and how they're protected. So if I want to try ePULSE, just click the shortcut, enter your email address, read the terms and conditions, and then tick the box and then sign up. Okay. Once you get a login, you'll then have access to all the different products to try, including, of course, eView. You will then be invited to create an organization. So there you can see I've already got several organizations. And again, you've got access to the ePULSE community, which allows you to look at all the different products in the ePULSE portfolio. But I now want to upload a project for people to view. So in here, I will create an organization and make that accessible to users. Again, nobody has access to the organization until I allow it. So how do we get the project into the cloud? That's done through ePlan. So I'm going to switch through to ePlan and I have a project. And there, once again, I've got a login available in ePlan. You simply go to Utilities, ePlan ePULSE. You then log in and you have access to all the products in there. You first of all have user management. So this is where you can add users. So users that in your organization that you want to share projects with. We go to the eView. And in there, well, I've already got a list of projects that I've already uploaded, but that button there is where you add a project. So you open your project up in ePlan, you click this button to upload it, and then add a comment, send an email notification to people to view that project, so immediately they've got access. Now this does take a few moments because, as you can imagine, ePlan projects are quite large, so we already have one uploaded ready for redlining. So once I've uploaded it, I switch to the organization that has that project, go to eView, and there is exactly the same list of projects that you just saw in ePlan. They're now uploaded. We can look at the project information. So you've got the project properties, you've got a comment that whoever uploaded it has made. If you're using the translation tool in ePlan, you can switch languages. There are more properties of the project you can browse through. These are all the project properties of your ePlan project that you can review. You can then add users. So at the moment, nobody has access to that project until I start adding users. So we simply edit it. We select from a list. So I'm going to look from my list. These are my colleagues. But obviously, you can also add any additional user to that list. So we just enter the email address, and add that. That's now sent an email notification to John, who will then get a notification to say that this project is uploaded and ready to review. You also have access to older versions. Now this happens if you have uploaded a project, and then in the time period the project is on the system, you may have had to make modifications. So there's a very, very simple revision tool built into the cloud so that you can access different versions if it happens that a new version has been uploaded. We then open the project and start viewing the project itself. Again, you have access to the information on the side, and on the left we have our page navigator, and this is identical to the page navigator in ePlan itself. So you can browse through all the different document types, higher level functions, locations, and look at each page in turn, and you can see it's very, very quick. Once you select a page, you get the page information on the right-hand side panel. So information about the structure of the page and so on. You also have the ability to look at that as a list, but you also have access to the device navigator. And again, this is very similar to the device navigator in ePlan, where you can browse for specific devices and locate them in that list. Once you select anything from the navigator, it immediately jumps, whether it's a page or a device. You can then select the device and it gives you information about the device on the right-hand panel. So just like the project information, page information, you also have device information. You can then browse through that device information, tells you it's a circuit breaker. It also has different representations. So if a device is represented in a multi-line, single line, PLC overview, or in this case a 3D mounting layout, you can simply switch from one to the other to find out, for example, where this device is in the 3D mounting layout. And there it is in there. Okay, so you immediately have access to wherever that project, wherever that device is actually located. Down at the bottom, we have part information. So summary part information, part numbers, supplier information, and so on. You also have access, if this is a part from your part database, and you have access to external documents, or not so much to internal documents, but also web links. You can see here I can go directly to the Siemens website, this being a Siemens component, to gather more information about that device. You also have access to the data portal. If this part has been downloaded from the ePlan data portal, there is a link directly to the data portal entry for that part. So that's now loading the cloud version of the data portal. And there we have information about that device. If that device is useful to you or a colleague who happens to have ePlan, they can add that device to the shopping cart. So that's now added to my shopping cart. The next time I go into ePlan, I can download that information into my own parts database. So that's a way of sharing part information. Back to our project, and I want to make a comment. So imagine for one moment I'm a maintenance engineer, or I'm on the shop floor building this particular panel, and I'm making notes for myself. So it may be that I tick off each component as I install it, okay, and mark off any wires I put on. Okay, so it's a very, very simple pencil tool. I'm just marking off or highlighting a particular component, and that's very, very simple green lining tool. This green lining is only accessible to the view, to the cloud. Okay, this is not information that carries through to the ePlan project. This is for your own personal use. So if we go to the redlining now, you can see here, if I go to the redlining panel on the left-hand side, this is a very, very simple workflow of your redlining. So we start off creating redlining as draft. We can then change it to review, and then approved, done, and removed, and so on. So it's really simple workflow. So it may be that there's a problem with this component, or they're out in the field and find that we need a replacement. So we use the redlining tool. And the redlining tool is shared by everyone. So first of all, I may want to mark something up and say we've got a bit of a problem with these lamps, or something's up with it. As soon as you create that redlining, it creates it as draft and it gives it a name, which you can then modify. So the title of this redlining is something like checking signal lamps for function. So it may be somebody's out on the shop floor testing it and they found an issue, the lamps are the wrong color, they're flashing in the wrong sequence, etc., etc. So I've now saved that redlining. And as I add more and more redlining, you can see it adds those elements to the redlining tool. So first of all, it's storing all the elements that I create. It's also, more importantly, storing history. Whoever created that redlining and when they created it is recorded. And so if you've got multiple users all adding redlining, that's part of the history. Okay, so I perhaps want to add some text and say colors are incorrect, please order correct lamps, or something like that. You can imagine something's on the shop floor causing a problem. Okay, so we've added a couple of red lines. I'm going to add to another page as well, and perhaps I'm going to mark off this particular component, add a little bit of text, something like keeps tripping, please check. Okay, now what's important is this could be a major problem on the shop floor, or maybe even the maintenance engineer is coming up with an issue. What the maintenance engineer could do is take a picture. So he might have an image that he's got in his laptop, or he might have a camera, he takes a photograph, and then he wants to upload a problem. Okay, so there may be an issue here, and we go to a picture. Okay, so he's got an image of a component somewhere, and he's taken a photograph, and he perhaps want to put a photograph of that component onto there. Okay, and say, we've got a bit of a problem. I've taken a picture of the component that's causing the problem, and want to save that image onto there. Okay, so we've got a link onto there as well. Okay, so we've got a couple of bits of redlining. And we now want to review the redlining in the EPLAN project. Okay, so I don't have to do any kind of saving or anything. I don't have to do any uploads or downloads. As soon as I put the redlining on, it is now available to the EPLAN user. If necessary, I can change the workflow and say this is no longer draft, I want it to be reviewed. And I want the engineer to go and make those changes. So I've changed just a simple workflow. Okay, I immediately go to EPLAN. So we're now in the EPLAN product, and we open up the project, select the project in the cloud. So this is the same project that's in the cloud that I've just modified. There you can see the user's been added, so this might be the engineer who's going to make those changes, and we open the redlining. There you can see a list of all the redlining that's in the project, and you simply click, and there is all the redlining available in the project. So you can see the name of the redlining, the status of the redlining, all the elements have been added. These are all hyperlinked, so if the redlining is on more than one page, you simply select and it goes directly to wherever the redlining is stored. Okay, You can create more than one redlining. So obviously I've just created one called checking signal lamps. You can create any number of redlining, red lines, should we call them, and have them all in the same project. We had a picture which is now embedded onto the project. So here I just click it and it's uploading that from the cloud straight away. Okay, or downloading, I should say. So if he's taken a picture of a problem component, there it is directly. Okay, along with the history. So who actually created that and when did they create it? So that is essentially the solution. That's the end of this introduction, this presentation. So Chris, I think we're now open to questions, and we've got a few questions already on. All right, so Chris, I'll hand over to you to look at the questions and see what we've got. Okay, so over to you.
Great. Thanks so much for that, Chris and Graham. I'll assist with the questions moving forward. I'd also like to just make a mention that Ian Thompson will also be joining the answering session. He's the Regional Account Manager for Inland and KZN Sales for ePlan South Africa. He's been in the sales field for over 15 years, operating in various fields ranging from highly technical products and services to baseline FMCG. So as mentioned, we will be taking those live questions, and do use the Q&A box, and don't forget that there are prizes, a lucky draw. So the first question we have for you is, what is the maximum size of projects in the cloud?
So for a single project, there's no maximum size. We also have no fixed limit on the amount of data that you can store in the free product. However, there's a reasonable use policy. So if we spot that something goes way above what we would deem as reasonable use, then we would contact that customer and explain to them that their file size was too large. But generally, there's no limit at all.
Great. The next question we have is, how do I give my team access to projects in the cloud?
So it's really easy. Graham, I hope, showed this, but we have a user management tool, and we can add users into our organization, and they can be users within our company, or they can be users external to our company, so customers or suppliers, and you simply add them to the user management tool. You give them access rights, either as an administrator or just a viewer, and then within the project itself, when we upload it, we can choose which of our organization's users we want to be able to view that particular project. So we can drill it down to project level access.
Okay, fantastic. The next question is from Colin. He's asking, how does the engineer clear the red lines in the ePlan environment?
There is a tool in the ePlan cloud to clean the project. So you simply open the project, and there is a tool that simply deletes all redlining. Simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we wouldn't recommend to do it that way, because you then lose the audit history. But as soon as you've made the change in ePlan itself, and you've set the red line to being completed, as in you've approved and completed the change request, the red line disappears from view in ePlan, but you can still go back and view it in eView later for audit history if you want to.
Great. The next question, in ePlan eBuild, what is meant by the term predefined module configurators?
So ePlan eBuild is really, I like to compare it to a car configurator, if you like, online. And what we have in there is some predefined libraries. So what that means is we've worked with some device manufacturers and we've also created some ourselves. So for instance, we have a Phoenix Contact power supply in there, where a user could select within ePlan and opening eBuild free, they could select the Phoenix Contact power supply configurator, and it's just like configuring a car online. You select some options from the boxes, you hit generate, and then it creates the schematic for that particular power supply for you. And that's just one example. There's lots of different examples in there, and it can really help speed up the design process by using these standard libraries.
Great, thanks for that. With regards to control, am I correct in saying only users given login details will be able to access projects?
That's correct, yes. Yeah, so it's completely managed by the customer. We don't manage it or have access ourselves. The customer is responsible for administering the user rights and inviting users to their organization.
Okay. Are there any specific PC specifications required to be able to work on the cloud?
So for ePlan, ePULSE, for the cloud applications, no, because all of the processing is done at our end. So it's done on the Microsoft Azure servers. So you could even actually access it from your smartphone as long as you have a web browser and a stable internet connection. They're the only requirements is web browser and stable internet connection. If you have that, then it doesn't matter which device you're on, you can access the cloud applications.
Okay, fantastic. All right, the last two questions that we have is, when the project is complete, can I download it and then issue the drawings?
So currently with ePlan eView, no, you can't do that. And the reason why is what I explained in the control. eView is a viewer only, and it means by blocking a download function, then we can really have control over the data and we don't end up with uncontrolled documents around. So the current process would be to do your review process in eView, and then once you open it back in ePlan, that's when you would issue your drawings directly from ePlan. In future, there will be a solution which will allow you to give more access, so download and maybe print rights as well. But that's something we're working on now and will be part of our portfolio in 2021.
Okay, great. And the last question, which I think you have touched on, is, can I print from the cloud?
Yeah, again, so currently no, for that reason. We want to keep, the whole point of this is we keep a single source of the truth, and as soon as we allow a print from the cloud, then we have uncontrolled documentation. And this is just for the viewer, remember. So there is another solution that we're working on, which is more of a project share rather than just a viewer. But as I said, that's not available yet, and it will be something that will be available in 2021.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Chris, Graham, and Ian, for all that information and sharing it with all our AATF key attendees on the webinar today. If there are any questions that still need to be asked by the attendees, please feel free to email the AATF team, or you can get in touch with the ePlan team directly. We'd be happy to facilitate those if you think of something post the webinar. So that does bring us to a close. Thank you all for attending our 6th AATF Technology Thursday. Thank you to ePlan and all our presenters for an informative and knowledge sharing session. Also to please remember to complete the survey. We really love to get your feedback so we can improve on the sessions and give you what you require in future webinars. And remember, you do stand in line to be a lucky winner of one of those fantastic prizes given to us by ePlan. We'll be announcing the winners on social media, so keep an eye out for that. And we'd also like to remind you about our next webinar, which is on the 20th of August, presented by IDX. right here on our Zoom platform. So keep an eye on our social media for the announcement of the winners, as well as any other information pertaining to our webinars and the live event happening in May at the Ticket Pro Dome from the 18th to the 20th of May. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your Technology Thursday. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.